Minister Modi was in Barasat today in Bengal, which is less than 100 kilometers from Sandeshkhali. That is where the most horrific crimes have come to light against TMC strongman Shah Sheikh. He has been incognito for more than 50 days. He was finally arrested last week. But despite the huge pressure, the national media's gaze on him, and the Calcutta High Court yesterday ordering that Shah Sheikh should be handed over to the CBI, the Bengal government and the CID agency there refused to do so. So much so, today the central agencies had to once again approach the Calcutta High Court, which threatened to slap contempt of court charges against the Bengal government, against the state government. Why is the Mamata Banerjee government protecting a former councillor who is Shah Sheikh? This is a man who is accused of heinous crimes like land grab and gang rape. Why is Mamata Banerjee's government seemingly going out on a limb to try and protect him? We'll get to all of those questions and whether or not the Prime Minister's comments today in that public rally in Barasat will have an impact on how the voters of Sandeshkhali, particularly women voters, vote. That is something that we will explore tonight on Brass Tacks. But first, the story so far.
गरीब वंचित आदिवासी परिवार की बहनों बेटियों के साथ टीएमसी के नेता जगह जगह अत्याचार कर रहे हैं। टीएमसी सरकार बंगाल की महिलाओं के गुनहगार को बचाने के लिए पूरी शक्ति लगा रही है।
State police, meaning West Bengal police, would be sufficient to hold that the state police are totally biased and every attempt is being made to delay the investigation in order to protect the accused.
कि CBID जितने भी यहाँ तैनात किया जाए, जिनके हाथ में सौंपा जाए जिम्मेवारी तफ्तीश की, बंगाल की जो पुलिस बल है वो कभी नहीं मदद करेगी।
All right, I want to first take you through the scathing order of the Calcutta High Court, which came out yesterday, and it led to this sort of turf war, if you will, between the CBI on the one hand and the Bengal police. What it said was this: number one, that the state police was restrained from proceeding with the probe. The Calcutta High Court explicitly made that clear. Despite the court order, the case was transferred to the Bengal CID. It was taken away from the Bengal CID and given to the CBI. The state police's actions, this is what the court said, it shows that it was totally biased. Also, it went on to say that the state police played hide and seek to shield the accused persons. It also said that every attempt was being made to try and delay the investigation. The accused can influence the probe if it is allowed to rest with the state police. I can't think of a more critical, sort of disparaging comments that have been made by the High Court of any state against an incumbent state government. I'm going to try and also bring you up to speed with what the Prime Minister said today and why the women voters of West Bengal are critical. They've been a steadfast vote bank of the TMC. The BJP is hoping to make inroads. They tried to do that in 2021 in the assembly elections, in the 2019 Lok Sabha. But unless you have a majority of the women vote in Bengal, you are not going to make significant inroads. So the women of West Bengal have been voting for Mamata Banerjee since 2011, from the first time that she came to power. This is one of her core vote banks. And that is the BJP's target, which has also seen a steady rise in the support amongst women. Now, for the Trinamool, if you go back to all the elections in the past, in 2016, the vote percentage of women in favor of the Trinamool was 48%. It dipped slightly by 1% in the 2019 Lok Sabha, but in the 2021 assembly elections, it went up to 50%. So, which means half of all the women in Bengal voted for the Trinamool. As for the BJP, in 2016, it was just 10%. Only 1 out of every 10 women was voting for the BJP in 2016. It went up to almost 40%, 4 out of 10 women in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. So that's a dramatic jump from 10% to almost 40%. It came down by a percent in the 2021 assembly election, where it came down from 38 to 37%. So clearly, the entire attempt right around now, and with this Sandeshkhali episode, the BJP is hoping that it can appeal to the women voters of West Bengal, particularly to the women voters of North 24 Parganas, where Sandeshkhali is, because there again, the number of women voters outweigh or outrun or outcount the number of male voters. Is it possible? Will the women ditch Mamata Banerjee and hitch their wagons with the BJP? Let's find out. Priyanka Tibrewal is spokesperson of the BJP, Tauseef Rahman, spokesperson of the TMC, Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya is a Rajya Sabha member of Parliament of the CPIM, Rajat Sethi is a political analyst. Let me start with you, Tauseef, because, all right, we'll get to Tauseef in 1 second, but Priyanka Tibrewal, you know, for election after election, from 2011, 2016, 2021, women of Bengal, and particularly in the southern part of Bengal, have been backing Mamata Banerjee. Why should our viewers believe that Sandeshkhali would change any of that?
Well, very good evening, Zaka. Now you see, whatever percentage you are showing here, I would not agree to that percentage completely, because the percentage which is coming to you according to the calculation is not exactly the percentage which has been voted, because we see that votes don't happen in West Bengal, and the way they take place, that also we have seen. So completely this is not the honest percentage if you calculate it. Now when you are talking about women being in support of Mamata Banerjee, see, Mamata Banerjee has utilized each and every scheme of the center in her own name. Right. And now that she was giving 500 rupees to the women, you see the women of Bengal today, they are standing and they are saying that we need respect. We don't want 500 rupees. They are saying no to the Lakshmi Bhandar, which Mamata Banerjee was offering. That is why she said that now I'm going to give 750. But the women refrain from taking that money because they are saying that we are called in the party offices late night. We are asked to do certain work, and not just that, we are not paid after that also. And more so over, we are physically and sexually assaulted. So we don't need 500 rupees because that money is being given to us because you are sexually exploiting us. We are being raped. We are being gang raped. This is what the women were saying. And then the Mamata Banerjee government says that, see, there is no such thing. Women are lying. They are being paid. Initially, she said that. But I also don't understand who this big guy, Sheikh Shahjahan, is. For the first time in my life, I have seen that a government goes to the Supreme Court to save an accused. Now, why is he so important? That lies in the demography of that area. Zaka, I tell you, once again, the first and very important thing to understand is that this is being done again, once again, for political appeasement, for Muslim appeasement of the votes. Because Sandeshkhali is an area where if you cross a river, it connects you to Bangladesh. That is the border from where the illegal immigrants are being supported by the Shahjahan. And now they are the people who are changing the demography and the geography and history of Mamata Banerjee's votes and politics.
Okay. So let me ask Tauseef, who's joining us. He speaks for the TMC. Tauseef, the point is that, you know, why is the Mamata Banerjee government seemingly going out on such a limb that it took 50 plus days for them to arrest this man? The entire nation's gaze was on this man. They still took 50 days to arrest Shahjahan Sheikh. But more importantly, more than the arrest itself, who is he? I mean, he's after all a former councillor of the TMC. The TMC, by going out on a limb to try and protect him, yesterday, they refused to give the CBI custody of this man. despite the Calcutta High Court order. So much so today, Tausif, and you're a lawyer, so you know this better than me, the court threatened the state with contempt proceedings. That's when the state said, okay, we'll give him custody to the CBI. Why? Who is this man? I mean, why is he such a VVIP, protectee?
Good evening, Zata. You know, this whole VIP culture is given to Sheikh Shahjahan and making such a fuss out of it. And the BJP team, especially the State Bengal unit team, wanted to politicize, giving a communal angle. It all failed because if someone is making Sheikh Shahjahan hero, is only Bharatiya Janata Dal Party and no one else. Because since day one, the ED went there to raid Sheikh Jahan's house without a lookout notice, and all that happened started begin from there itself. But the thing is that when you talk about Sheikh Shahjahan, when you talk about 55 days, when you talk about the BJP, TMC is defending Sheikh Shahjahan, what about Brij Bhushan? It's not a what about Zaka. It's a fair game. When you attack Trinamool Congress with Sheikh Shahjahan, when you want to connect Sheikh Shahjahan is not the whole TMC. TMC came in power in 2011. Sheikh Shahjahan joined Trinamool Congress in 2013. And there was a CPM MLA out there. And now the CPM is attacking that हमने बहुत कुछ बोला था किसी ने सुना नहीं. Now the thing is that we have our own perspective. We have a reservation for ED and CBI because they don't want to do their job. They just want to roll out the things for BJP so the BJP can take mileage and cash out from all these cases. But we wanted immediate action. That's why we want to go Supreme Court. Is that so? TMC is defending Sheikh Shahjahan, using that our democracy to go the Supreme Court and roll out the case over there. I mean, what is the harm behind it? Sheikh Shahjahan's case has been taken to Supreme Court. We are not talking about the rape and sexual assault. If you talk about the rape and sexual assault, if you talk about the Nari Shakti, coming from the words of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, I mean, he is the one who gave ticket in Asansol to a person who used the term Bengali mal to a Bengali females. I mean, this is what we are talking about, Nari Shakti. That's a shame. And we want to make Sandeshkhali into a big boss house. We want to stay the Karan Johar show over there. We are not going to allow this. Agni Mitra Paul, the MLA, over there, she wanted to turn Sandeshkhali into a battleground, and when I share this,
I do want to take a moment. Please give me a moment before I go to Bikash. 1 second, please. Before I go to Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya, before I go to Rajat Sethi, if you look at the map of Bengal and the way in which the 2019 Lok Sabha election results played out, I think it's a very, very neat pattern. Number one, where did the BJP win its maximum number of seats? It won in the northern part of Bengal, in Cooch Behar, in Alipurdwar, the entire northern part of Bengal, which is more, Hindi speaking, Nepali speaking, and perhaps even less Bengali speaking. BJP also won seats in the eastern part of the state, the districts that sort of border Bihar, Bankura, Purulia, Jungle Mahal, some of the tribal parts which are in the eastern part of Bengal. Where is the population of Bengal? And where is, the bulk of the seats of Bengal? That is here in the southern part. It's Kolkata, which accounts for a large number of seats. Also the outskirts, north and south 24 Parganas. This entire belt, which accounts for a large majority of the seats as far as Bengal is concerned. And Sandeshkhali is bang in the middle of North 24 Parganas. This entire southeastern belt of West Bengal has a larger proportion of women voters. And history has shown, electoral demographics have shown that since Mamata Banerjee started winning elections in 2011, the first assembly election that the Trinamool Congress won, this entire belt has devotedly voted for her. And one of the big vote banks has been women. So it is around this belt that BJP is hoping, because of Sandeshkhali, they'll be able to make inroads. Mamata Banerjee, if she has to hold on to two critical vote banks. One is women, the other happens to be Muslims. If these two vote banks conjoin like they have in 2011, 16, 21, if they do so in 2024, then the Trinamool Congress will have an edge. But if there are cracks in the women vote bank, which the BJP is hoping there will be, then this sea of green that you see, there will be an extension of the sea of saffron, both from the western part of the state, which is the districts bordering Bihar, and of course from the northern part of the state, where the BJP won a bulk of its seats. So this is the electoral demographics. This is how the vote banks will play as far as Trinamool Congress and BJP are concerned. Having said this, let me now go across to Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya and to Rajat Sethi. But Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya, so far at least, there is no evidence to suggest that the stranglehold almost that Mamata Banerjee has over the women vote, that is in any way decreasing because of Sandeshkhali. At the end of the day, people in Bengal are saying, what is Sandeshkhali? It's one remote island. Who really cares about it?
You see, Sandeshkhali is one of the instances where the people, when get united, particularly the women folk, and they got united with strong bamboos in their hand to face the police also. That's a qualitative change in the form of resistance by the women, because they were treated like just slaves. And in fact, the rightist political parties, whether BJP and TMC, they have the same philosophy of following monobadi culture, the patriarchal philosophy in the society which they always want to impose. And that has created this situation when the women got revolted. I would say this is some sort of revolt by the women in the Sandeshkhali area. And they, in the meantime, during this lull period, so-called lull period from 2011 up to today, the left parties very silently got them organized, and that's the reflection in the protest. And they could come out and say openly, we little care about your 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees. We are but much more concerned about our prestige, about our femininity. We want to protect it. You have destroyed that. Therefore, this has created a ripple in the state. Wherever the women, they had suffered so long, people could not raise their voice. Now they are raising their voices. Therefore, the effect in the election, we do not know what is going to happen. I am not a soothsayer, but I still believe that this will give a definite edge to the old left vote pattern.
But
and
Mr. Bhattacharya, I have not seen evidence in the 2011, 2016 or 2021 election. In fact, with each of these three assembly elections, Mamata Banerjee's majority has increased. And the reason it's increased is because her core vote bank, you can call it whatever you want, women, Muslim, other minorities and so on and so forth, some of the urban elite, they have further and further consolidated with each passing election. But let me ask Rajat Sethi this. The problem, Rajat, is, yes, you can make a lot of noise around this, and rightfully so. There has been a lot of media gaze on what happened in Sandeshkhali. But election after election, Rajat, the voters, particularly the women voters of Bengal, have reposed their faith in Mamata Banerjee. For a large number of women to ditch Mamata and join hands with an entity like the BJP or any other entity for that matter would take a significant amount, almost like a seismic shift. It's almost like what happened in Nandigram and Shingur. Do you see that with Sandeshkhali?
Jacob, first of all, a woman issue like that of Sandeshkhali should not be belittled by bringing in politics. But just to analyze what's happening there, and if I were to wear my psephological hats, in my view, anti-incumbency first builds slowly, and then all of a sudden there is a avalanche. So for a fairly long period of time, Mamata Banerjee and the government, there has been a considerable amount of anti-incumbency gradually building up. But she has been taking the advantage of, the left and the Congress trying to take away one slice of the anti-incumbency vote, and the opposition vote getting split. She was able to swing back in power. But with increasingly, we are seeing that both the left and the Congress are getting decimated, and it's becoming increasingly a bipolar election. I believe that tipping point is reaching. The tipping point will ensure that once that is reached full and final, then you will see an avalanche of vote base declining. The good thing on Mamata Banerjee's side is 34% Muslim base. So she doesn't have to work hard from a zero. She starts from 34. All that she needs to do is to add another 10 odd percentage points and reach to that number of 44, 45.
Yeah.
And that is invincible if you go by conventional arithmetic. But I think, largely I'm seeing and I'm sensing that the intelligentsia, the urban class, the youngsters, everybody have had it enough. This would be the third time now for Mamata Banerjee. Holding on to power beyond this, if she doesn't mend her ways, is going to be incredibly hard for her. Sandeshkhali is going to be a very, very decisive moment in her political journey as well. Just sending women members in the parliament alone is not going to help her. Justice has to be seen to be delivered in this case, and she has been on the wrong side of history. I just feel though, and she's committing mistakes after mistakes. No polity is going to pardon her for this.
So
no
Tausif, does this explain the 30% plus Muslim population, Muslim electorate in a large part of the southeastern parts of Bengal, the central parts of Bengal? Does this explain why Mamata Banerjee and her government have seemingly gone out on a limb to defend this man? I keep saying this. After all, he's just a former councillor, that too from a small island town, 100 kilometers away from Kolkata. Point is, why is the government doing so? I refuse to believe it's an ego battle with the centre. It's not just an ego battle with the centre.
Zaka, till the time it's about ED and PMLA's case, PMC is involved with such things, and we have to see what Sheikh Shahjahan has been looked under. The FIR will be there. He has been taken by CBI, and things will be crystal as clear. And it is our duty to know everything in white and black. But the mentality of election, the mentality of vote bank doesn't matches with us.
No. Please explain to our viewers, Tausif. Please explain to our viewers. It took you 55 days and the entire national media's gaze to first arrest him. That's one thing that you need to explain. The second thing, and more importantly, after a high court, the Calcutta High Court no less, has given an explicit order that he needs to be handed over to the CBI, the CID of the state police refuses to do so. Why?
Can I read the statement coming from the boat, Zaka, if you allow me, sir? I will be quick if you allow me to read. I can allow this. Just listen to me. The embargo on the investigation, therefore, till the appeals were heard and disposed, order and direction issued by the learned single bench in the compact order dated 17 January 2024 shall remain stayed until further orders. It goes without saying that the West Bengal State Police shall also be restrained from proceeding with the investigation.
There have already been debates on this. Whatever he is talking is history. Whatever he is talking is history.
As far as I know, I'm not a lawyer, but the order yesterday was explicitly clear that Shah Jahan Sheikh's physical custody needs to be given to the CBI. I'm not saying this is the first time it's happened, but it's extremely rare in the history of Indian criminal jurisprudence where a state agency has taken control of, taken the custody of an accused person and refuses to part with his custody despite the orders of a high court. I can't think of too many instances in the past where this has happened.
Definitely there was something which they were trying to hide. And I have already told you what they are trying to hide. It is the illegal immigrants to whom they are issuing the voter cards. So that this can be their minority vote bank. This is exactly clear. Now I am telling you, Zaka, whatever it is, people of Bengal do not wish to vote for her. It is only through this minority vote bank that she is holding on to power. And now, since this gentleman, according to Mamata Banerjee, who is a gentleman, because that is what she said in the Legislative Assembly, that he is a good boy. So this good boy has now been arrested. We had all seen his demeanor when he was arrested and when he was surrendered, as per them. When he surrendered or whether he was arrested, we have seen his demeanor, the way he was walking. And I had said that when the matter will go to the CBI, how the CBI is going to drag him.
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to come back to both the BJP and TMC spokespersons. Let me go to Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya, please, because he has to leave after this. Mr. Bhattacharya, again, I come back to this entire, and I think this is an absolutely critical point. There do happen these stories every once in a while, which completely, sends political earthquakes through the establishment, whether it's at the state level, whether it's at the central level, that's a matter of different debate. But to see this have some kind of a seismic effect, politically speaking, you're not seeing evidence of that. When Shingur and Nandigram happened, you saw that because people died in police firing. It was framed as injustice at the hands of the state instruments. Whereas here, that's not how it is being viewed, at least not until now.
Don't compare this incident with Shingur and Nandigram. Shingur and Nandigram was a planned conspiracy against the government project. That's a quite different thing. Here, this is the activities of a particular political party's leaders. I would say the political party's corrupt persons. And they have really kept the people down under the threat of their life and their livelihood. They have now revolted. This is where the administration failed to give due protection to these people. Now the people do not anymore rely upon the police administration. They have taken their own cause in their own hand. Thereafter only police came forward to dissuade them, do not do this. And ultimately the Sheikh Shah Jahan,
No, sir, you are numb on Sandeshkhali because BJP is creating a havoc. So that's why you are numb. You don't want to see the truth, sir. You're such a senior panelist, sir, and you're an MP. We respect you, sir. Staying in Calcutta, we really respect you. But we need to know the fact coming from your mouth. Isn't they criminalizing in Sandeshkhali? They are politicizing in Sandeshkhali. They are making a havoc and doing a massacre in Sandeshkhali, sir. And you are being numb. This is not fair.
I do. One second. Gentlemen, please hold your horses. I want to go back to the point that Rajat made about the Muslim vote. Clearly, it is a significant vote bank, yes, for Mamata Banerjee, no doubt about it. But the Muslim vote in the context of the overall state, if you look at the state of Bengal, those seats, again, I'm going back to 2019 Lok Sabha, out of the 42 seats in Bengal, those seats which have more than 40% Muslim population are only 8 seats. Out of those 8 seats, the Trinamool Congress in 2019 Lok Sabha won 4, BJP won 2, the Congress won 2. But in those 8 seats, the vote share of the Trinamool Congress was much higher. It was 41%. The BJP was only 28%. The Congress party was 20%. Now, here's the interesting thing. These seats are spread across different regions of Bengal. There are some in the south, there are some in the central part, in the Malda, Murshidabad belt, and of course, there are some in the north as well. But if you look at the southern belt, there are only 2 seats which have more than 40% Muslim vote share. One is Jayanagar, one of the southernmost seats in Bengal. The other is Bashirhat. Now, Bashirhat is where Sandeshkhali is. Bashirhat, the 2019 MP of the TMC from Bashirhat, is Nusrat Jahan. She won from this constituency with an overwhelming margin of more than 45% votes. And that is because a large proportion in this constituency, more than 40% proportion in this constituency, happens to be the Muslim vote. And this is where Sandeshkhali is. So yes, as far as this 2 or 3 seats in this North 24 Parganas and South 24 Parganas belt is concerned, if it's a question of influencing 2 or 3 seats and appeasing a Muslim vote, yes, it does make political rationale for what Mamata Banerjee is doing. But this does not explain how it may spread to all the other seats of the state, because after all, those seats, if you were to take away, the central part, which has a different dynamic, the Malda, Murshidabad, Behrampur, that belt, and the northern part, which is again the Kuch Bihar, Alipurduar belt, which again has a different electoral dynamic, you are looking at single-digit seats for which the Muslim vote could be critical. And to say that Mamata Banerjee is doing all of this for a handful of seats, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 seats, that is a little difficult to believe. But let me go back to our political guests, and I'll try and get a sense of this as well. Priyanka Tipperwal, I just explained with our graphic wall, our magic wall, that the Muslim vote, or the women vote for that matter, does not fully explain why Mamata Banerjee is going out on a limb and her government and her police are going out on a limb to defend Shah Jahan Sheikh. So why then are they doing that?
So Zaka, whatever I said when we started the debate has been proved through the chart which you just showed. Because that is exactly what I was trying to say. Now, since you are saying that what is the impact of these false and fake voters which Mamata Banerjee is creating with the help of this person Sheikh Jahan, how does it impact the other seats? Now I'll tell you that only 10 days back, we had given a application before the Election Commission where we gave a list of 17 lakh fake voters who have been added to the voter slip. And we have proved that they do not exist. Not just that, the names of people who are dead, their names have been given in the voter list. Names have been repeated in different area. Supposing one person is from one area, his name is there in the voter list of another area. So how all this is happening? Now this is the answer to it.
Okay.
Because documents have been
Tausif,
given
one
to
second.
the
Tausif, I'm
illegal
coming back to
immigrants
you.
who are
Tausif,
coming
give me
from
1 second.
Bangladesh.
Let me ask Rajat Sethi. So Rajat, again, I've given you the breakup of the Muslim vote share as far as Bengal is concerned and also the women vote share. Again, I don't think these two factors, as important as these two vote banks are for Mamata Banerjee, fully necessarily explain why her government for 55 days, took 55 days to arrest this man Shahjahan Sheikh.
Well, another possible explanation could be that he knows a fair amount of details of or functioning of the party, funding, financing, something. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole controversy started because of the enforcement directorate knocking at the doors. So he could be funding and financing some of the prominent faces of the TMC, and he might, share certain interesting facts about the functioning of TMC to the authorities. I think that is what is the other part of this puzzle, which is not clear till the investigating agencies do not extract that information out of him. I personally feel that there is a lot of dirt that he would expose in the coming days. Especially, this was the principal reason why they said that we will not hand it over him to the CBI, because the CBI will have its own means to elicit all of this information, and that would have scared some of the top leadership of the TMC.
Tausif,
this is what I can sense. Otherwise, there is just no rationale whatsoever.
Tausif, the problem is, this is not a case in isolation. The problem for the TMC is, over the last 3-4 years or so, since the 2021 election, look at the names who have been clouded with very grave allegations of corruption and perhaps even worse. You have Partha Chatterjee, you have Madan Mitra, there's Anubrata Mondol, and now you have Shahjahan Sheikh, who's not even an MLA or any kind of a big leader. The problem for the TMC is, it seems like, and the impression seems to be going around, that all of these Bahubalis who the TMC depended on, they are meeting with their comeuppance. And that's not a good sign to the voter. The voter never wants to be seen as voting for a criminal or a hardened convict of some kind. Whereas in the case of the TMC, one after another, these names have had grave allegations against them. Many of them have been arrested. Many of them are in jail. The perception is that, look, they are up to something fishy.
Zaka, I mean, with all due respect, Trinamool Congress and the leaders are not dependent on any other leaders, right? We are totally dependent on the voters. We are totally dependent on the 10 crore people of West Bengal who have trusted us since 2011. And every time when the election comes, we have seen such kind of criminal angles coming up, 2014, 16, 19, 21. And 2024. So we are preparing since 2011. It's nothing new for us. We are very much used to it. But Zaka, when you talk about corruption and allegation and accusation, when you talk about Partha is behind the bars. When you talk about Jyoti Priya Malik is behind the bars. But the case is going on. There is no result yet. When you talk about Sheikh Shahjahan is behind the bars, I want to ask the BJP, all those people where ED have raided their house, whether Delhi, UP, Bangalore, Madhya Pradesh, are they being arrested? Are they being suspended? We have suspended.
Okay, last 30 seconds, Priyanka Tibrewal, please to respond. 30 seconds. Priyanka Tibrewal, 30 seconds, and then I'm going to wrap up this first part of the debate, please. Please, thank you.
We are concerned with West Bengal, although we are always concerned with whosoever is involved in any kind of illegal activity. But yes, this is the job of the ED, to investigate, and you are not even allowing them to investigate.
Okay.
You are attacking the ED when it comes.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how the story plays out in Bengal, because I suspect this is going to have ramifications. You might see the effect of it perhaps in the Lok Sabha election, but I think this is going to append many known and believed theories and vote banks as far as West Bengal is concerned. Remember, it was the big outlier in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. No one expected the BJP to get 18 MP seats from Bengal. Whether or not they'll be able to repeat that, whether they will better that, whether they will fall short of that, we will wait and see. But Sandeshkhali, I suspect, will have an impact one way or the other. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's a deep dive into the Super Tuesday sweep in the United States, where US President Joe Biden and the Republican challenger, the main challenger, Donald Trump, they're both set for what looks like a rematch from 4 years ago. Can Joe Biden secure his second term and deflect criticism surrounding his age? And can Donald Trump really rally the MAGA base to counter multiple criminal cases against him? All that and more. And of course, the big news point, the big headline from the Super Tuesday results, Nikki Haley, the lone Republican challenger to Donald Trump, has now suspended her campaign. What that means, all that and more right on the other side.
Presented by inaugurating a lot of projects. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, the Prime Minister, in fact, will be giving to the state of Bengal development projects to the tune of 14,000 to 15,000 crores. That also includes the first under-river metro, which is going to be inaugurated in a bit from now. And if sources are to be believed, then Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also board that first metro and take a ride on that metro, like he does on multiple occasions. He actually, wants to feel like the common man and wants to experience what the common man really experiences. So that's the difference between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several other VIPs and VVIPs that we've seen in the past. Having said that, today is a very, very special occasion as far as Bengal is concerned. The women folk are going to be the special guests invited to the Prime Minister's rally, which is taking place at Barasat, which is North 24 Parganas. Incidentally, it's the same district, Anjali, as West Sandeshkhali really falls in. So obviously, in run up to the Women's Day, which is on the 8th of March, the Prime Minister today is addressing a huge gathering here in Barasat, and of course, women from across the country will be connected through online process. Women from mandals across the country will be connected online. That's the arrangement that the BJP Mahila Morcha has made as part of their push as far as the women agenda is really concerned. So the Prime Minister is expected to hit out at the TMC government failing to secure and provide safety to the women, and also he is going to highlight essentially as to what steps have been taken by his government to empower women, especially the development projects that have been aimed at women. Various initiatives have been taken, so women have been sent to the space, women have been sent to the armed forces, women have been given all kind of empowerment by giving them benefits of central government schemes, allowing them Mudra Yojana, allowing them the Lakpati Didi being the latest armor which is come out of the Modi quiver, and also a lot of other things that have really happened. So obviously the Prime Minister is going to make a lot of mention of that as well, and say that this is the government which has been then in power for the last 10 years and has done women empowerment in its true sense and not lip service. And obviously he's going to hit out at Mamata Banerjee, because remember in 2021 the one vote bank which actually stood between Modi's BJP and of course Mamata Banerjee were the women, and can the women really strongly rally behind Modi? That is possibly going to be the biggest difference that is going to really be made to the 2024 Lok Sabha elections as far as Bengal is really concerned, because Bengal is said to be a land of the women, where the women are really worshipped like goddesses and of course empowered a lot as well. But what we've seen pan out in Sandeshkhali, like Dr. Chatterjee was mentioning, has been an incident of shame, and nobody would ever want to have a repeat of such an incident. So we can expect the Prime Minister to make a very, very fiery speech. Remember, this is his third rally in less than a week's time. He again comes back to Bengal on the 9th. So probably the Prime Minister using his star power as far as Bengal is concerned, because the BJP completely relying on his star power to get through those 42 seats.
In a major development, the Calcutta High Court ordered the transfer of the probe into an attack on Enforcement Directorate officials in Sandeshkhali on January 5th from the West Bengal Police to the CBI. The High Court made scathing remarks on the state police, saying that the Bengal police failed to take any action on time. The West Bengal government has moved the Supreme Court challenging the Calcutta High Court's order. The state government is seeking to quash High Court's order and also allow state police to investigate this particular incident. Now, sources have informed informed CNN News 18 that CID has refused to hand over the custody and documents of Shah Jahan Sheikh to the CBI. CID told CBI that the matter is pending before the Supreme Court and thereby they will not hand over the documents as of now. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi is in Bengal today and will be addressing a rally in North 24 Parganas district. In fact, he will also launch a slew of projects in the state. And West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee in all likelihood will be skipping this event of Prime Minister and will instead make an important announcement for women.
Once again, our publicity master Prime Minister is coming to our state of West Bengal. He will be talking about women empowerment, Nari Shakti. But he will never say why amongst 195 declared BJP candidates, they are having only 14% female. He will not utter a single word regarding Manipur, where the women are being raped and they are forced to do parade nakedly. He won't utter a single word regarding Madhya Pradesh, regarding Uttar Pradesh, where several rape cases are taking place every day. He will be talking about corruption sitting by the side of Subhendu Adhikari, who has been seen taking money in front of camera, whose name is very much there in the CBI. He will be talking about corruption, but he won't say that the biggest financial scam of nowadays is Modi Adani scam, whose amount is nearly $120 billion.
जी लोक सभा मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट इज विथ मी प्रधानमंत्री आज आ रहे हैं क्या मैसेज लेके आएंगे बंगाल की महिलाओं के लिए
देखिए आज देश में जैसा महिला लोगों के लिए जैसा विकास चल रहा है पूरा देश में प्रधानमंत्री जी खुद अपना हाथों से महिला को आगे बढ़ाया है तो पश्चिम बंगाल एकदम रिवर्स चल रहा है तो पश्चिम बंगाल में जो महिला के ऊपर जो चल रहा है महिला जो सुरक्षित नहीं है उनको विचार देने के लिए आ रहे हैं और हम लोग चाहते हैं कि ये विकास में पश्चिम बंगाल का महिला भी शामिल हो जाए।
ममता बनर्जी भी कुछ अनाउंसमेंट करने वाली महिलाओं के लिए आपको लगता है आफ्टर थॉट है उनका?
देखिए संदेशखाली का जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है ये पूरा सुनामी हो गया, पूरा पश्चिम बंगाल बोलिए पूरा देश में हो गया है। संदेशखाली का महिला लोग चाहते हैं कि लक्ष्मी भांडार नहीं चाहते हैं, लक्ष्मी का सम्मान चाहते हैं। ममता बनर्जी 500 रुपये में पश्चिम बंगाल में नारी का सम्मान बेचा है।
ममता बनर्जी अभिषेक बनर्जी कहते हैं कि वो जो जैसे लॉ है वो लॉ इज टेकिंग इट्स ओन कोर्स, बट सीबीआई ने जब कस्टडी मांगी है शेख शाहजहां की तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट सुप्रीम कोर्ट चली गई।
एक्चुअली शेख शाहजहां को ममता बनर्जी अपने घर में रख दिया है क्योंकि उसको प्रोटेक्शन पूरा दे रहे हैं, क्योंकि उसको 30% वोट का राजनीति चाहिए, उसको महिला को सम्मान नहीं चाहिए, इसलिए वो चाहते नहीं है कि सीबीआई के हाथ में शेख शाहजहां को उठा दे। लेकिन पूरा पश्चिम बंगाल का महिला लोग, पूरा देश का महिला लोग चाहते हैं जैसा शेख शाहजहां ने हिंदू महिला को खोज के जैसा हिंदू महिला का सम्मान किया है, उसको गैंगरेप भी हुआ है, हिंदू महिला लोग सब लोग चाहते हैं कि शेख शाहजहां को फांसी का सजा मिले और सीबीआई हो।
एक आखिरी सवाल है क्योंकि इलेक्शन आने वाले कुछ ही हफ्तों में, आपको क्या लगता है कि इस बार महिलाएं जो है बंगाल में परिवर्तन करेंगी, दीदी को छोड़ के मोदी जी का साथ देंगी? बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन अभी भी दिखा रहे हैं, सब लोग देख ही रहे हैं और आप देखेंगे कि लोकसभा में सब लोग आशीर्वाद, महिला लोगों का आशीर्वाद मोदी जी के ऊपर है। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर टॉकिंग टू अस। पायल मेहता फॉर CNN News 18.
And CNN News 18's editor is Kamalika Sen-Gupta is joining us on this story. Kamalika, very good morning to you. So all eyes are on the Prime Minister who will be addressing a rally in West Bengal. What all is the Prime Minister's plan for today?
Definitely, it's a very, very significant rally today here. Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
All right, we'll try to re-establish that connection with Kamalika. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to address a rally in West Bengal's North 24 Parganas district. And in fact, he's also slated to launch a slew of projects in West Bengal today, which also includes underwater rail project. Now, this comes amid the Sandeshkhali controversy that has been going on in West Bengal, and the TMC government has been facing the heat of the people on that particular case. And now CNN News 18's Payal Mehta is also joining us on this story. Payal, so what is Prime Minister's
US President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump romped through Super Tuesday when almost a third of all American states went to polls. The two frontrunners amassed huge number of delegates in California, Texas, the two biggest states, as well as other smaller states. Both the leading Democrat and Republican candidates are moving slowly but surely to securing their respective party nominations. It is all but certain that the November fight for the White House will be a rematch from 4 years ago. Donald Trump's primary rival, the only one standing, Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina, secured one state, the small state of Vermont, but the rest of it was a clean sweep by Trump. Trump took a giant step towards securing the nomination Tuesday night, winning a dozen states, and that too by huge margins. In many of these states, he won these states by 10 to 20 percentage points. Speaking at Mar-a-Lago, his Palm Beach residence in Florida, the former president made no mention of his only Republican challenger, Nikki Haley. Instead, Donald Trump called for unity within the party. He said, "We want to have unity, and we're going to have unity, and it's going to happen pretty quickly."
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time.
But Haley and her campaign were having none of it. Her campaign spokeswoman, Olivia Perez-Cubas, fired off a statement saying that unity is not achieved by simply claiming unity. Today, in state after state, there remains a large block of Republican primary voters who are expressing deep concerns about Donald Trump. On the Democratic side, President Biden swept in all of the 15 states where there were Democratic contests, as well as he won the Iowa caucuses. The only hiccup came in American Samoa, which is a tiny American territory in the Pacific Ocean. There he tied with a little-known businessman, Jason Palmer, for the territory's delegates. So they've split 3-3, according to the Associated Press. And just like his likely challenger Donald Trump, Biden too is looking towards the general election. He put out a statement, and I quote from it, "My message to the country is this. Every generation of Americans will face a moment when they have to defend democracy. Stand up for our personal freedom. Stand up for the right to vote. To every Democrat, Republican, and Independent who believes in a free and fair America, this is our moment. This is our fight. Together, we will win." But the big loser of the night was Nikki Haley. Super Tuesday quickly proved to be a major disappointment for her and her campaign. After winning the Republican primary in Washington, D.C. back on Sunday, she was hoping that there will be some good cheer and that this will spread into Northern Virginia and the suburbs across the Potomac River and deliver the state of Virginia to her. But Virginians chose otherwise. They didn't choose Haley, they went for Trump instead. After that, one state after another slipped away from her grasp. So that eventually led her to concede the nomination to Donald Trump. She was holding out in the hope that there would be enough number of Republicans who are anti-Trump but are conservative enough to back her. Roughly 1/3 of the nation voted on Tuesday, but there was very little drama. News outlets started calling state after state soon after the polls closed, just like they have since the Iowa caucuses back in January, when Trump won that state, and subsequently he's been leading in many of the states that went to polls with over 50% of vote share, which means that more than 1 out of every 2 Republicans are voting for Donald Trump. And that, in a 2-person contest, means almost as good as a no contest. The exception, of course, was Vermont, the small state where Haley scored her first state victory. Like I said before, she won Washington, D.C. over the weekend, but that's not a full state. That was a small island, though, Vermont, in a sea of Trump landslides in more than a dozen other states, including in Alabama, where he won by over 80% of the vote. in a state where just a few weeks ago the courts had ruled against in vitro fertilization, and women's rights and abortion rights have become such a huge issue. For Trump to carry that state with over a 4/5 majority was a telling statement of the current state of the Republican Party. So there was very little for Nikki Haley to really spin on about the results of Super Tuesday, that she skipped any public remarks at all. Instead, reports were that she was watching the election returns behind closed doors in her home state, South Carolina. One of her aides said that music was blaring inside and the mood was upbeat, suggesting that her campaign had become much more about delivering a message that Donald Trump is not electable when it comes to the general election, as much as it was about accumulating delegates, because ultimately you have to win a maximum number of delegates if you need to clinch the nomination. But it was as clear as sky on Super Tuesday night that Nikki Haley has no mathematical or realistic possibility to clinch the Republican nomination. There was simply no path to victory. Trump has largely campaigned in those primary states, which also happen to be battleground states come November against Biden. In fact, he went to North Carolina last weekend, just ahead of Super Tuesday. He's also headed to Georgia this coming weekend, that's ahead of the March 12th primary in that state. So the signal from Trump is very clear. He doesn't care about Haley being in the way, that Haley is the last woman standing between him and the Republican nomination, because he has already got his sights set on Biden and the fight in November. The contests on Tuesday night have pretty much determined the presidential candidates for the November election. But that's not all. It will also shape the Congress and who gets to have majority in the next Congress, and also state house races that will shape up for next year. Despite his dominance on the Democrat side, Joe Biden, who's scheduled to give the State of the Union address on Thursday, once again faced a protest vote in Minnesota. Just like in Michigan last week, here too, pro-Palestinian activists persuaded enough voters to cast their ballots for uncommitted. They got as much as 20% of the vote, which is enough to pick off some delegates from the state of Minnesota. So the effort continues to deliver a very stark message to the president and his team that, look, Joe Biden is faltering on his policies towards Israel and the war in Gaza. For Haley's campaign, it is seemingly a do-or-die moment. She's weathered defeat after defeat, but she insists that she's going to stay on this race until at least Super Tuesday. The argument was those voters in at least a third of the country need to get the opportunity to make their voices heard. Her campaign was run on the singular belief that there are enough Republicans who are unhappy with Trump, that she'll be able to demonstrate to those Republicans and perhaps some independents as well that Trump will not be able to win a general election in November. She was hoping that these would convert into a majority, but that did not come to pass, and she dropped out of the race a day after Super Tuesday. All right, so what do these results on Super Tuesday mean, particularly for the two main candidates, Donald Trump and Joe Biden? Joining me now is our very own Sanjay Suri. He's joining us live from outside the White House in what looks like a pretty gloomy morning in Washington, D.C. Who is it gloomy for, and who is it bright and sunshiny for? Certainly for Donald Trump and for Joe Biden, it seems like they took away a bulk of the wins last night on Super Tuesday.
Well, with Biden, of course, it was expected he had no opponent to speak of, but really it's cheerful for Trump. It's been a Super Tuesday that's been super for him more than for anyone else. Gloomy, of course, for Nikki Haley, but it's really looking like Trump all the way. We'd been seeing several indications of this in the polls earlier through the 6 primaries held before Super Tuesday, but this has been the bulk support for Trump showing through. The earlier primaries had about 11% of the voting. Super Tuesday now takes it to 47%. It seems almost certain now that, barring the formalities on March 12th and possibly again then on 19th of the March, when you have the rest of the primaries, it's going to be Trump who's going to be nominated. This is a very clear victory for Trump, and he's really won this on the back of his policies and his very strong rhetoric, more than policy really, on immigration and against immigration. That seems to be selling, and we saw that in the victory speech, and that seems to be selling right across the country. So beneath this apparent multiculturalism, you do have a strong groundswell of anti-immigration sentiment that Trump has been riding on.
I do want to talk to you about both Trump versus Biden. Of course, they were the big winners on Super Tuesday, and it seems like they have more or less sealed the nomination of their respective parties to be the candidate from their respective parties. But the problem is, Sanjay, that for a lot of people, I don't know if they're the majority, but a significant number of people, this is a rematch from 4 years ago. And it's a rematch that they are not particularly inspired by. There's nothing new in it. It's going to be a repeat from 4 years ago. So how do American politicians, the system, try and keep the interest alive in four men? One of them is well into his 70s, the other is approaching his 80s. How do they keep the interest in this contest alive between now and November?
Well, the interest is diminished. There's a good deal of cynicism around, and that cynicism is around the age of the two candidates. Collectively, this is the oldest contest ever in US presidential history. But this now really becomes a question about who to choose between the two they have. This is the choice that people have. There's no way they can change that. So they're going to be living with this, and this is more to the disadvantage now of Biden. Biden is coming across as, well, he is the older of the two, but certainly Trump is looking more energetic. He's looking more enthused. He seems to be onto a winning streak, and he's hammering away with that very strongly. But Biden really is going to come off perhaps second best in this. His age is not working for him. And we saw the report from the DOJ, from Ben-Hur, the prosecutor, when he decided to drop the classified documents case against Biden. It was the kiss of death that he administered. A well-meaning elderly gentleman with a poor memory. This is not what a candidate wants to hear on the eve of seeking election. So this is going to work really more to Biden's disadvantage.
So the only consequential sort of decision or the move out of Super Tuesday was Nikki Haley. She was hoping that she would get a good run on Super Tuesday. That was not to be. She won just one state, the small state of Vermont, and that has, of course, forced her to now pull out of this race. Her entire campaign was focused on one singular possibility, that there are enough number of Republicans who don't like Trump but who are conservative enough to vote for her. That hasn't come to pass, and therefore she's pulled out, but she's also not endorsing anybody just yet.
Well, if she does not endorse Trump, and that is what seems more likely, this is going to be a problem in the Republican Party, because the Republicans are going to go into this election a divided house, because while Nikki Haley lost, she did get a very substantial number of votes. Sometimes, and in fact, oftentimes, the percentage of votes she got did not translate into the number of delegates that could go in on her behalf. That has been an electoral arithmetic that has worked against her, but there has been considerable support for Nikki Haley, though she is a distant second best, and Trump would need to have that included in his campaign. We haven't seen any sign of that in his victory speech. He did not refer to her at all. This is now going to be a difficult issue for Trump. He's been riding the gung-ho message on immigration, against immigration. Haley delivered the rational, sensible, level message, but that's not the message Republican voters want to hear.
All right, clearly between now and November, anything can happen. And Haley's entire campaign was hinged on the fact that she somehow will be able to convince a good number of Republicans that she's the best candidate against Biden, that if it's going to be Biden versus Trump, then Trump would not find enough, independents, non-leaning political folks who would be able to support his base and thereby defeat the Democratic candidate. That has not been the case just yet. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Sanjay Suri, for joining us on Wednesday, the day after Super Tuesday, when, like I said, the one thing that has stood out is it has firmed up the candidature of the two leading contenders, both on the Democratic side and on the Republican side. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It's going to be a rematch from 4 years ago. 2024 is going to be similar to 2020, but will the result be necessarily similar? That's something that we'll wait and watch out for. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series. Stay wild at heart. Co-powered by AU Small Finance Bank. बदलाव हमसे है.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Our lead story tonight is China. It's a sinking ship. Investors are leaving. Chinese investors are leaving. And Xi Jinping has no one but himself to blame for this. We'll bring you the numbers. In the US, Nikki Haley is out of the Republican race. So it will be Donald Trump against Joe Biden. A 2020 rematch. We'll look at how the odds are stacked. On the moon, Russia and China have a plan. They want to set up a nuclear power plant. This is not from a Hollywood movie. We have the details. Also in the news, does America have the political will to ban TikTok? We ask because they're introducing yet another bill to do it. What caused the tech outage in Meta and why is the White House investigating it? Why is Haiti's Prime Minister trapped out of his own country? What's India's new underwater metro? Why the Turkish economy is down in the dumps despite, or should I say because of President Erdogan's intervention? What do we know about the insurgency in Mozambique that has displaced 100,000 people, and why the Arctic will have no ice in a decade, and how does it affect your life? All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The Indian Navy commissions its new base in the Lakshadweep Islands. INS Jatayu at Minicoy is India's second naval base in the Lakshadweep. It will help enhance New Delhi's reach in the strategically important Indian Ocean region. Indian benchmark indices hit record high. The Sensex ends above the 74,000 mark for the first time. Stocks in banking, IT and consumer durables lead the rally. The Nifty also hits a lifetime high of 22,474. No such fortune for Egypt though. The crisis-hit country devalues its currency. The Egyptian pound plunges to a record low. Cairo will now let its currency trade freely, a key demand of the International Monetary Fund. Egypt has been in talks with the IMF to get more aid. Tensions escalate in the South China Sea. Philippine President Marcos calls China's actions alarming. On Tuesday, Philippine and Chinese vessels collided in the disputed waters. It's the latest confrontation between the two countries. China claims almost the entire waterway. France and Moldova to sign defense deal on Thursday. It comes amid rising tensions between Moldova and pro-Russian separatists. These separatists are from Transnistria, Moldova's breakaway region. Last week, they asked Moscow for protection. And Somalia gains full membership of the East African Community, becoming its 8th member. In 2012, it had applied to join the bloc. The EAC is one of the fastest growing regional economic groups in the world. How do you know that a ship is sinking? Well, when it starts taking water, yes, but also when the crew jumps overboard. And that's China in a nutshell for you. In the last few decades, it was a shiny new cruise liner. Everyone wanted a place on board. But now this vessel is sinking, so the race is on to abandon the ship. Look at the latest headline from Beijing. Chinese investors rush abroad. Why? Because they're losing confidence in the domestic market. Imagine you're a big investor in China, maybe a mutual fund or bank or insurance company. You can't randomly buy assets abroad. There is a channel that you must use. It's called the QDII, the Qualified Domestic Institutional Investor Program, QDII. All offshore investments are channeled through this. And the sales of these funds are up. By how much? 50% compared to last year. At the same time, investments in Chinese mutual funds are down by almost 35%. Let me simplify that for you. There's a 50% rise in Chinese money going abroad. There's also a 35% drop